Welcome to the Sanibel Captiva Guide podcast. I want to give a quick shout out to Bailey's General Store, Spoondrift Island Bowls, GatorBites Tail and Ale, and 3 Crafty Ladies. Without them, this content would not be possible. If you're interested in becoming a supporter, please email the sancapguide@gmail.com. Our podcast is available on all major podcast platforms. Simply search the Sanibel Captiva Guide podcast. In today's episode, we are very fortunate to be joined by a gentleman that has spent a good part of his career teaching sailing and boating in the local waters. He is also a well-respected, accomplished, world-travelling skipper in his own right. He has sailed just about everything from Hobie Cats to super yachts. He's going to be sharing his vast knowledge of our local waters. Whether you plan on sailing or powerboating in this area, I think you will find this episode of interest. Please welcome Captain Kevin Wensley.
Welcome,
Kevin. Welcome.
Thank you, Nick, for that introduction. That was spectacular.
That was spectacular.
If only I knew how good I was, I'd have said it to somebody else. But I just want to qualify one statement. Super yacht, maybe. 75-foot transatlantic ocean racing yacht, possibly, but not super yacht.
Super yacht.
I wasn't ever on below deck or anything like that.
All right, okay. Well,
Nick's favourite show.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Well, and Kevin's too.
Yes, that's true.
Okay, so just a little bit of an intro there for Kevin. Obviously, we've known each other for many years. Our kids are friends together, so hence how we know each other.
Right.
But,
and you might recognise the accent is quite similar to these two.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Me neither. I am distinctly home counties, and he's from somewhere on the wrong side of London.
So let's actually go into that. Let's
not actually go into that. Let's go quickly to sailing.
How in the world did you end up on Sanibel Island?
How did I end up on Sanibel?
And where are you from?
What's your name? Where'd you come from? So, obviously, the accent's British, not Australian. I get that so often here.
Yep.
So does
Nick.
And I just want to set that up for a quick Australia joke. What's the difference between Australia and a yogurt, like a yogurt that you eat?
Okay. I've never heard this joke, so I don't know.
Given enough time, yogurt develops a culture. Anyway,
to start the show off with a non-politically correct joke.
There we are.
Here we go. Sorry to any Australian fans that may be listening.
So how did we end up here?
Yes.
So very long story cut, super short.
Yep.
We had the good fortune to, I started sailing. I basically started sailing sailboats when I was an adult. When I became an adult, when I was about 24. And I know I was 24 when I became an adult because before that I was a windsurfer. And then Nick's lived in the UK, and if you've ever been to the UK, then you know it's cold and wet and miserable all the time.
Yes.
Windsurfing in the North Sea, the North Atlantic, the English Channel, it is horrible. It really is horrible. And some mates said, hey, you should try sailboats because you can wear warm clothes and stay toasty and that kind of stuff. So I did that for a while, and then I said to my then girlfriend, I'd like to take it quite seriously. I'm going to go across the Atlantic and race a boat and do some stuff in the Caribbean and that kind of thing. So she said, okay, but you've got a time frame. So I jumped on board the 75-foot ocean racing schooner, and we raced across the Atlantic, and then I was doing the Caribbean circuit, which meant basically drinking a lot of Mount Gay rum.
Excellent.
Sounds like fun.
And hanging out. And then it reached a point where the lady in the UK said, your time would be better spent with me in the UK than being drunk in the Caribbean.
Right.
And your response was?
That's bizarre.
As I'm now married to that lady, my response was I immediately returned to the UK. And it wasn't soon after that we actually got married and had our first opportunity to move to America. And Claire, my wife, girlfriend at the time, now wife, had a job in technology, and we moved to Manhattan.
So you moved to America through Claire's job.
Exactly. And it was the big technology boom, late 90s was happening. We got a place in Manhattan. It was unbelievable. But I started teaching sailing with a school, offshore sailing school, who had a branch in New York Harbor. I was teaching sailing there. And then after that, I helped do some stuff and moved about a bit. And then we moved to San Francisco. And
that was with Claire's job again?
Basically they said you can either come back to the UK or you can go to San Francisco. So we went to San Francisco. I was then working with Che Blythe and his then BT Global Challenge team, which is an around the world yacht race that you paid to take part with. So I was doing that for a little bit. And then sadly, around about 2001-ish, the economy took a nosedive. And my boat was heading back to the UK. Claire's job was going out the window. We just got green cards and we just had a baby.
Wow.
And
stressful time.
It was a difficult time. And so we said, let's take time out for a year. We need to go somewhere warm and think about things. And exactly. And in the very late, I think it was 99, I came down to Captiva to help teach a sail racing program out of South Seas Resort.
South Seas, okay.
And we were in San Francisco going, where are we going to go? And I said, well, there was that place. Remember that island we went to that was really fantastic and the sailing was awesome and we had so much fun. And
let's go there.
Let's go there. Why not? So the plan was to go for a year. And we moved down. I started working at the branch at South Seas for offshore sailing school. And I guess we're now 20 years later. And in that time, I've had so much opportunity to not only work with offshore sailing and all the sailing in this part of the world immediately, but also in the Caribbean, up and down the East Coast and Bahamas. And a lot of that time I've actually spent with you.
Exactly.
Some of that time.
Exactly.
Yes.
We've actually had a few family vacations together. And I think we've done 4 or 5 trips now.
We did the BVIs.
BVIs.
We did Belize.
We did Belize.
We did Exumas.
We did Exumas, Bahamas.
Yeah.
And we've done somewhere twice.
Yeah. So, and we have another one planned.
Yes, and there's one coming up soon.
So tell us a little bit about the, really the idea of this podcast is for anybody that's coming down here about boating or wants to come in this area. I thought it'd be good to get Kevin on just to pass on some thoughts about the local area navigating. We see comments about people saying, maybe don't, if you come down here, get a captain. Don't get a boat yourself. It's too tricky to navigate, which I'm not a believer in. I think that people are smart enough to figure it out. But what would you say, Kevin? What would your thoughts be?
I think if you're smart enough to figure it out, you're going to navigate in a smart way in this part of the world. So to go on the sailing angle first of all, if you come down to this part of the world and you want to go sailing and you don't know the area, it is advantageous to get local knowledge. That's just going to be smart navigation from anybody's point of view. So as long as you ask around, you're going to be okay. I've sailed a lot in this area in places that I don't know. Like, I've gone to, maybe I've gone to Chino Island. I don't know really how it works around there. I know I can't trust the charts. I know I can't trust my navionics necessarily.
And why can't you trust a chart and why can't you trust your...
It's all sand. And it moves around so much. And every time there's a big blow comes through, things get churned up, things move around.
So the apps and the charts just can't keep up with...
Right. So when we're teaching, or when I have been teaching here, it's always been, don't always believe what it says on the chart.
Gotcha.
Don't always believe what it says on your electronics. But if you can see it, it's real.
Gotcha.
So,
which is a good tip.
And it's so true, because Max and I were out on our boat last week, and I wasn't captaining. I was just sitting back reading a book.
Yeah, right.
I would like to dispute that fact.
And Max, we took we were up on our way to do a job up in New Sepper Island, and we may or may not have been cutting a corner or two with a bit too much local knowledge, I think. And unfortunately, we were fine.
Why do we keep saying we?
Well, I think you were more in charge at that time.
I was there.
Definitely nothing to do with that.
We wouldn't have run aground, but the ground definitely got closer to the top of the water to the point where the boat slowed down.
Slowed down to a complete stop.
But anyway, going back to what
on a sandbar,
which we haven't done for a long time. I wasn't captain, but anyway,
I like to dispute that.
But anyway, going back to what Kevin said. Seriously, that area on that chart actually did say it was a shoaly area, and I had been through that area before and got through it, and this time I didn't. So it's a very good poignant point about the chart.
Use your eyes.
So if you're in a power boat, and you've got outboards going on or whatever, you've got an inboard or you've got props that are driving you, if you're getting into really skinny water, you go slow, like real slow. And it's one of those cliche things to say. How fast is the right speed to run aground at?
None.
0.
Yeah.
That's how fast you should be going when you run aground. So if you know you're getting into skinny water, you take it all under control. We in sailing, I would call it sailing using braille. Like you've got a big keel, prop's not going to get damaged, your keel's not going to get damaged. But if you're trying to squeeze into those really nice, cool spots, then, you watch the tide, you watch what's going on, you watch the wind, and then you just sneak up. And if you touch,
take your time.
So you touch. And if you're on a sailboat, you shouldn't be in a hurry anyway.
Right. Exactly.
So everything happens at like
and
4
if you're
or
on
5
vacation
miles.
on Sanibel Captiva, you should not be in a hurry.
So one of the really cool things about sailing in this area is that there are so many nooks and crannies and kind of places to go that if you look on the chart, it says that's impossible. But it's actually very possible. And there's two, the classics. One between the Captiva, Sanibel, the Roosevelt Channel. Getting in, there's a little bar to get in. There's lots of bars when you get there.
Not a bar.
Not a bar. Not a sandbar.
Sandbar.
But the sandbar. So it's supposed to be dredged, or it's supposed to be 6 feet clear all the way in. But if you're in exactly the right spot, then maybe you're going to be good.
Right.
So I've sailed a lot of time around here with a 6-foot keel. And I know that on occasion, I would be coming in and, boom. All right, so that's not quite right. And then, okay, in I go. Or let's just give it half an hour, wait for the tide to come up another half a foot. And then
you're good.
We're golden. And so then you get into those the back. So you get, now suddenly if you're going into Roosevelt Channel.
Which is the channel between Captiva and Buck Key.
And Buck Key,
correct.
Yes. Yeah, and you're right to mention Buck Key between Sanibel, Buck Key, Captiva.
Right, Captiva, Buck Key is right.
So you go in there. Once you get over that first bar, you've got 6 foot clear, pretty much all the way into tween waters. And so now, I've run a couple of charters for folks that have wanted a boat to come into tween waters, and then they've actually stayed on Captiva, and I've just been the skipper that's helped them work stuff out in the meantime. But if you are in this area and you know what you're doing and you have a sailboat that draws between less than 6 feet, say, if you're over 6, then it's going to be more challenging. But 6 or less, if you're smart, you can get into great places. You can get into the back bays. You've got the Green Flash. You've got tween waters. You can go down even at the south end of Sanibel on the south side of the causeway. You've got Sanibel Marina. Mm-hmm. I actually looked at the chart today, and it says 2 feet getting in there. Mm-hmm. It's 6.
Right.
Really? So the chart says 2, but you're from knowledge. You've been in there with the sailboat.
Yes.
That's 6 feet. Okay. So basically, take your time.
Right. But the other thing to add to the sailing element is not everybody that comes down to Captiva Sanibel is going to own a sailboat and want to do that, but they're going to want to get out on the water. And there aren't many people that enable you to do that. So because they're worried about people running aground, if you don't know what you're doing, it's got to be more challenging.
Right. Let me just stop you right there, Kevin. I think I know where you're going with this. So we're primarily talking about 3 sets of people. We're talking about maybe 4. The powerboaters, powerboaters that are coming down to maybe rent a boat, the powerboaters that are bringing their own boat, sailors that might be sailing through this area on a bigger voyage, and then maybe people that are coming here to learn to sail or to rent to sail or rent a sailboat.
Right.
So just clarifying that. So you're saying, or going back to what you were saying.
So if you rent a powerboat in this part of the world, you can do it, and there's lots of people that do it.
Yeah.
You could probably list the people that do that quicker than I can. All you've got to be doing with the powerboat, generally, the markers are good. Mm-hmm. If you stay within the markers, you're going to be fine. If you're going to go what I call off-piste a little bit, then you've got to be smart about it. And you've got to know that tilting your engine up, you've got to know that going slow is the right way to go. And it's okay to stick an oar or something in the water in front of you just to make sure there's enough water. But why you're choosing at that stage to go into those more remote locations is because maybe you want to be somewhere really, really secluded for whatever reason, and it's going to be the coolest place to hang out for lunchtime. Then great. But just be smart doing it. Don't just drive in there, hoping it's going to be all right.
And I think not without a shadow of a doubt, 99% of people that run aground are outside of the channel. I mean, most of the channels are deep enough, especially the going up through the back bay. There is if you follow the channel, it has some big vessels going through there. I mean,
Sure.
way bigger than anything we're going to be in.
Right.
Go ahead.
That's like between Sanibel Captiva and Pine Island is Pine Island Sound, and that's where the ICW, the Intracoastal Waterway, runs through there. And the Army Corps of Engineers apparently dredges that to 9 feet. So if you're staying within the markers, then you should be good. The trick is not getting out of the channel and knowing how to make sure that you don't get out of the channel, because each time you go past an inlet, like Roosevelt Channel, between Sanibel and Captiva, there's current that's going to be washing in or washing out. And if you're just chugging along, just looking at what's in front of you, it doesn't mean your boat isn't actually moving slightly out of the channel.
Right.
And that's where you run into trouble. So having some real basic kind of navigational techniques, like ranging is what we call it, but just knowing that you're in the channel is a good way to go. But I would encourage anybody that's coming down to spend some time on the water, power or sail. You'll be able to charter power more quickly, more readily.
Do you know where can you get a sailboat from?
Well, there's the really tricky piece.
Yeah.
So if you want to charter a sailboat, you've got Southwest Florida Yachts, I think they're called, in Tarpon Point, in just to the south. Tarpon Point.
On Pine Island?
Nope, on the other
Cape
side.
Coral?
Cape Coral.
Okay,
Yeah,
gotcha.
Cape Coral.
That's the one.
So those guys, and they do a great job. In fact, they come with extra benefits. If you charter up from there, it's a big boat, and you need to be qualified. You'll have to have ASA or US sailing certifications or a captain's license to do it. But if you charter from those guys, you can actually go to USEPA, which isn't obviously Sanibel Captiva, but it's a private island, and because they're members and stuff, it's really kind of cool.
Oh, okay.
I
I did not know that.
Oh, very cool.
But that's I charter from them, and then would usually bring maybe a catamaran or something up to Twin Waters or South Seas, where you can just dock for the night or 2 nights or whatever, and then people stay locally wherever they want to be on Sanibel Captiva, and then just drive or bike to the boat in the morning. And we don't really stay overnight unless that's what they want to do.
Right.
And
Very
then
cool.
this area, obviously, with the we took our inshore course a few years back, but this area is fantastic for learning. Obviously, as Kevin was saying,
Right. If you don't have your sailing degree, I guess you call it,
Degree.
come here and get trained.
There's all sorts of levels, which I'm sure Kevin could fill us in on.
There are all sorts of levels, and I wasn't actually going to go there with that. I was going to stay with the Captiva experience,
Yes.
Sanibel
Okay.
experience, and sailing. So for 15 years-ish, I was teaching sailing out of Captiva Island on South Seas Resort. And I was thinking about it before I came to see you guys. What makes it so special? And what makes it so special is that not everybody can do that, actually sail in this area in a meaningful way, because there are so many sandbars. But if you do know the area, there are so many places you can go, and they're not charted. And if you're with somebody that has local knowledge, then it helps a lot. And learning in this space is amazing, because in the summer, where there's notoriously either no wind or like there's a hurricane. And by the way, hurricanes are few and far between, and if they come through, they usually impact your sailing experience by maybe 1 or 2 days, and that's about it. But you've got the land and sea breezes that fill in every day. So quick kind of meteorological lesson here. The physiological properties of land and sea are such that land warms and cools much quicker than water. So first thing in the morning, the land has cooled overnight, so the relatively warm area is over the Gulf. And so what happens is the warm air over the Gulf rises, and air gets sucked off the land out to sea. So if you're sailing around Captiva between 8 and maybe 10 or 11 in the morning, there's usually a lovely little breeze. It's called a land breeze coming off the land until things heat up and then the temperatures equate. But then late in the afternoon, around about 2-3 o'clock in the afternoon, suddenly the land is now a lot warmer than the water, and so the air is being sucked back into the land. So you have that still zone for maybe 2 hours around about lunchtime, which is a great time to go in and have lunch.
Right.
And then you go back out again, and away you go. So if there's no wind, then this area just makes its own wind. And if there's prevailing wind, if it's too hard, if it's blowing hard, then you stay in the Pine Island Sound.
Right.
And if it's not blowing particularly hard, then you go out to the Gulf. So any
best of both worlds.
time of the year, it works to learn to sail in this part of the world. And then the last thing to add about it is I challenge anyone anywhere in the world to find a better space that you can move around in at about 5 miles an hour and see such diversity of wildlife.
Yeah.
And like I've seen all kinds of stuff that I would never believe, but dolphin every time. It's like, and I never get tired of dolphin.
No,
That's
one
right.
does.
And your bald eagles, your ospreys,
yes, rays,
sea
turtles,
and the rays, the leopard rays jumping.
Yeah.
If you're moving at like 5 miles an hour, looking around you, you see things like that. You see how they leap out the water and splat down, and apparently that's something to do with parasites, trying to get them off them.
Oh, is it? I didn't know that.
Me neither.
And an introduction to sailing course would take you, is it 3 days? We did it so long ago, I can't remember.
So yeah, I think, depends what your intentions are. If your intention is to learn to be a small boat sailor, then 3 days is perfect, because you'll certainly, if you do the offshore thing, offshore sailing school at Captiva, if you do that, then they'll give you more than you will probably ever need to know in a lifetime in those 3 days. But then you've got to go away and consolidate those skills.
Right.
If you're going to stay on a small boat and learn to perform it and sail it well. If you're going to go to a bigger boat, then it's a bit like, if you were learning to drive a Mini, we'd put you in a Mini. If you wanted to learn to drive a truck, we'd put you in a truck. It's slightly different. But if you wanted to really understand the basic premise of how sailing works, start in a small boat, really get a feel for it, and then move into a bigger boat. And then when we get to the bigger boats, then we start to explore the rest of the world, which is where you guys and my family have been
luckily
doing our thing.
And I would totally recommend it. It's a great way to see the world, and it's absolutely incredible.
Yeah. You love it, don't you, Max?
Oh, it's the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a total best.
Where have we been? The Exumas, Belize.
The BVIs.
Yeah, BVIs.
Yes.
Yeah.
So cool.
I think we're planning Croatia next.
Oh, wait, that's fantastic.
Yes.
All right, I'll be there.
You're not invited, Kevin.
No, Max isn't invited.
No, I'm coming.
Grasshoppers become the master.
Yeah.
All right, so in a nutshell, that's sort of definitely everybody. I mean, it's a big school they have out there at South Seas. They have quite a few boats, don't they? And they have boats from the 26 Colgate through to big.
I think they've got a couple of 42 Genots, something like that.
Yeah, and then
nice cruising boats.
And a big cat as well.
There is a big cat. I think that's working out of Tarpon Point.
Okay,
but you should definitely get Steve and Doris on this podcast.
Which are the owners of they started.
Yeah, so Steve, I've been working for Steve and Doris on and off since the day I arrived in America.
Okay, really? Perfect. We'd love to have them on. So if anybody, maybe we can reach out to them.
And I think they've got a book coming out real soon.
Oh, really? Perfect.
You can come on to promote the boat with a book.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, perfect. Okay. So the other thing that we didn't talk about, obviously we've got, and we don't want to put people off, but it's not just about staying in the channels. And the biggest difference between the east coast of Florida and west coast is basically the sandy bottom and how the bottom changes quite a lot, as Kevin was saying. But it's not quite as simple as that. And I don't want to go into too many details to put everybody off, but I can't recommend studying a chart enough before you come here, just because of the different directions. If you're on the east coast, for example, Florida, then normally there's an old saying, red right return, coming away from shore and coming in. But here we've got, I guess they have on that side as well, but you've got the intercoastal waterway. We have the Caloosahatchee coming across the state of Florida. So there's a little converging point, which is actually right by our house. It's actually called Look Up Marker 101. And all the directions change and flip just to confuse you further. So look up Marker 101 on the ICW, and then do some studying before you come, because it can be a little confusing.
It can be confusing.
So do you have a trick to remember?
Well, red right. Well, not red right returning, but red dirt on the land side, green water on the ocean side.
Right.
So if you're in the ICW, the land is the red side, and the green is the ocean side, whichever way you're going. That's how the ICW works.
But if you're heading north on the ICW, the red is on your right.
The red is on your left, heading north on the ICW.
Which would
beg to differ.
But if you were going north, then that would be the west.
It'd be north.
Stand by.
Right.
On each of the ICW markers is a little yellow triangle,
right,
or a little yellow square.
Okay.
And if it's a little yellow square, it's basically saying, whatever color I am, I should be on the ocean side.
Gotcha.
And if it's a little yellow triangle, whatever color I am, it does it. Yeah, thank you. That's it. I should be on the land side.
See how confusing this is? Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
We talked about sailing, but wait. Sorry.
No, go on, Kevin. Go.
So the other thing I was going to say is it's not all about, for me, living in this space has been all about sailing, and I've loved it, and I continue to love sailing. But just being on the water and boating in this area is enormously good fun because of the wildlife and what you see and the pace of life around here. It's just unbelievable. There are so many other things that you can do or ways to get on the water and see stuff that I don't know that everyone realizes. And again, you should have some of these people on your show, but I worked for a little while for Captiva Cruises.
Right.
And I wasn't sailing, I was running a little powerboat, and we were doing dolphin tours. But they have a big catamaran, and they do what's called the Adventure, I think, and they do sunset sails, they do dolphin watching, they do shell collecting. They've got the Lady Chadwick, which is almost guaranteed to get you to see a dolphin because they just create the right way.
It's a river boat that's basically a double-decker river boat that has a perfect wash behind it.
And I, because of my blow boating background, I'm not a massive fan of the thing called I think it's called the Sanibel Thriller.
Right.
So
the super fast powerboat.
But everybody loves it.
But everybody, exactly. And I'm not here to tell people what they should or shouldn't like, but I am here to say that I love going slow. Some people like going fast.
Which is what the Sanibel Thriller does. It circumnavigates the island. It gives you a little history tour as you go, and guaranteed dolphins too.
History, like Laura, I've listened to you talk on this little show before, and you've got into some of the history. It's great. I love it. I love all the pirate background and all that kind of stuff that's going on.
Yeah, me too.
And and you've had guests I mean, I don't bring much history, but I can tell you that anybody that's thinking of coming here, you should come here, whether you want to sail or go powerboating or do whatever, or just spend time.
Get on the water, kayaking even.
Kayaking, kiteboarding.
Exactly.
There's literally
the windsurfing, kayaking scene on the causeway.
We have the blue. What's the name of the trail?
The blue water. The
Calusa. We actually have a trivia question about this today.
The Blue Way Trail.
It's called.
I think it's a 500-mile long trail.
The Calusa Blue Way.
Paddled it
once.
We
the Great Calusa Blue Way.
It seemed like it.
It seemed like the whole day.
How many miles is it?
I thought it was 500.
I think we did 2.
Yeah, we did 2 miles.
You did 2 miles.
We've only got.
Right. It's actually a trivia question coming up. So.
Oh, okay.
Oh, gosh.
I've just told them.
No, don't say that.
So I guess the message is, if you are coming to the area, you're into boating, please don't let the naysayers put you off.
Amazing.
Definitely do it. Max takes our boat out all the time. We're avid boaters. Kevin's an avid boater. So we don't want to put anybody off. We want you to do it. Having said that, going with a captain is not a bad idea. And even if you're a super experienced captain, there's no shame whatsoever in asking local boaters some info, and it will do you some good. So.
And speaking of that, I guess do you hire your services, Kevin?
I do.
What do you mean by that?
Have you seen those videos? No. So I actually do. I do salient. I do quite a few deliveries for folks, really, if they're just moving their yachts around locally, sailboats in particular. I'm a much bigger fan of sailboating than moving powerboats. And if folks, similar to what I've done with you guys, want to go to the Exumas or the BVI or somewhere like that, and they just want to have an experienced instructor as well as skipper, then I'm the guy. I'm not there to demonstrate how to run the boat. I'm there to help you run the bote. So it's a slight difference. But I'm not a sailing school. I'm just a guy that's taught sailing for a long, long time and knows how to translate the technicalities of what's happening. Like
experiential learning, as it says right here.
And there's this website there.
And it's spelled SAILIENT.net.
Yeah, and then we can speak from experience. When we first started out sailing, Kevin has this very he's got a saying that we all repeat quite often, which is, if you're doing something really badly and really wrong, he will say something along the lines of, "That's one way of doing it. Perhaps there might be another alternative."
We've heard that all too many times.
But it saved us our butts many times.
And then tell us about, you do one trip, I know, for a big, is it faculty or is it
Emory?
Emory University, the Goizeta Business School. For about 13 years, I've been heading up a leadership development program with those guys. So we get a fleet of boats from the moorings usually.
The moorings is a
charter company
in the BVIs.
Yeah. And it's a values-based leadership. It's not so much team building, it's about leadership. It's giving people an opportunity to really take charge in an environment that they're unfamiliar with. And they've got a crew of 3 or 4 that they have to guide through pretty complex challenges each day.
And then how many boats, how many people are on that trip typically?
Between 6 and 3 boats. 3. We've done it with 15 people, and usually about 30 people is where we go.
Very cool.
And then the only other person I need to give a plug, I don't need to, but I'm going to give a plug to, is in terms of that whole team building leadership development idea, it's not me coming up with what I think is the right way to lead a boat. There's lots of people have different ideas about that, and it's not trying to find the person that naturally floats to the top to become the leader. What it is taking the basic principles of a guy called Patrick Lencioni, and he has a performance pyramid of teams and how they work. And to give you a top line, it's basically trust. It's not trust like I give you $20, you're going to give me it back. If I say something, you're not going to take the mickey. You're not going to give me a hard time. I'm going to share my feeling, and you're just going to absorb it and react in a nice way. So we need trust. Then you need conflict resolution. So I might have something to say that you don't like, but that's okay because you just work that through and you talk about it. So you have trust, you have conflict resolution, you have commitment to the idea. So we've all had this chat. We've all decided that this is what we're going to do. Mm. We're going to sail around that island 4 times and then go over to there, and then we're going to try this or do whatever we do. So we have trust, you have conflict, you have communication, you have accountability, and that's the team holding each other accountable. And then last of all, you have attention to results. And as long as the whole team is working with that kind of premise, the boat works well.
And what a great thing to do for companies and for anybody, really.
Maslow's hierarchy of needs for a great team.
There you go.
Basically.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And you have another
some philosophical input.
Whenever we go sailing, when we start the voyage, you always say the 3 rules. What are our 3 rules of sailing?
There are only 3 rules of sailing. Right. 1 is we keep the people in the boat.
Right, that's important.
2, we keep the water out of the boat.
Very important.
And 3, we look good.
Exactly.
And that doesn't mean that you look amazing every day. The boat needs to look good.
Here's Mom demonstrating the 4th rule, looking good.
Yes.
Right on the boat, not in the water.
Last weekend.
Right.
That was last weekend.
This was last weekend.
Yeah.
You guys
what size was that sailboat we were on?
That was 25.5.
Right.
If you go to the salient.net website and pull up the family and friends, so if you've got like a salient professional on board with you helping you run the boat, then you'll see some of the stuff that we've all done together on a bigger catamaran in the Exumas. It's pretty special.
I didn't realize we were on your website.
You are. Yeah, I actually did send you a note saying,
you did.
Is it okay?
Have I signed off?
Let's see. Oh, here we are.
Full model release. There we go.
In fact, is Max going to be able to pull that one up?
Oh, wait. You just missed me doing the worst dive in American history. There I am.
There you go. Okay.
Wow, that was bad.
So that's the other extreme. That was one of our trips a couple of years back.
We ate that barracuda, which was a really bad decision.
So so that's
Sharks.
the sort of thing.
We saw the pigs.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, so
anyway,
fun.
Back to Captiva.
So fun.
Yeah.
So I mean, let's do a quick roundabout here because I know you've probably got some ideas, tips. Let's do a tip each. If you're coming here boating, and we might know or might not know these general rules of thumb by actually carrying them out ourselves. So I'll start it off with one tip you would give to a new boater, and something like if you're running aground, don't keep going forward. That would be a good one.
Yeah, that's
because the further forward
that's the one you want to go with.
Well,
after 2 weeks ago,
because we would delay how far we noticed that we were running aground. Right. But normally, if you run aground, doesn't matter how tempting it looks to go forward. Go backwards. Okay, well, give us one, Kevin. I'm only passing Laurie because I'm not sure. Have you got one, Laurie?
I would have a tip of where to go.
Okay,
I have a tip with where to go too.
I would say go to Cayo Costa, which is the biggest portion of it is a state park. It's open to the public. You can dock there, and obviously,
you can camp there too, right?
On a sailboat?
Yeah.
To Cayo Costa?
Yes, and Pelican Bay is one of the best places to go and anchor.
Yeah, so they've got a great big anchorage.
You need a little bit of local knowledge getting in, but it's actually about, I think, 9 or 10 feet getting in.
Not just don't go from the south.
Well, come in. Yeah, well, don't go from the Gulf side. Come from the.
No, there's if you.
Are we talking about Pelican Bay?
Pelican Bay, which is next
Coco
to
Costa.
Yeah, you can go around the top of the island that's alongside it. I'm not talking about Coco Costa. There's what's the island behind it? It doesn't matter. If you come up from the north, heading north, then you will run aground. If you go around the island on the outside and head back south into Pelican Bay, then you won't run aground.
Do you concur with that?
He's trying to visit the other island that I'm talking about.
I would say if you're going north on the intracoastal waterway,
right,
then make sure you get well north before you take a hard turn left.
That's what I'm trying to say. To
get into Pelican Bay, which is Coco Costa. And if you're coming from the north, you've either come down like past Gasparilla, or you're coming in through Boca Grande. But either way, you've got to come down. You just got to make sure. Get local knowledge, look at the cruising guides, but make sure that you're heading pretty much due west when you're going into the gap that is Pelican Bay. Mm-hmm. You've got to be really close to the north bank getting in.
Right. So, but
once you're in, it's amazing.
Right, and then there's like a mile to walk across the island, and when you get to the other side, you're right on the Gulf.
So you need you can, and I've done it swimming. You can, come if you're coming in with a deeper keel boat, then you can get in there, drop the hook. If you've got a tender, amazing. It's free dockage. Just go into the dock, dinghy dock, and then they've even got a kind of golf cart.
There's a tram service. Yeah,
tram service. They'll take you across. It's a nice walk. And then you get across the other side. The shelling's amazing. Yes. The beach is awesome. It's everything that the Bahamas is.
Yeah,
it's really quite special.
Okay,
very
that was my tip.
We've camped there. Yeah, so it's a great place to go.
Yeah, they have tent camping, permanent camping. So that was mine.
Kevin, give us a tip. Well, give us a tip.
I do have a tip.
Okay.
I have a tip,
tips across the board.
Tips across the board. This is my top tip, and I hope no one's surprised by the fact that I say the most important thing is that everybody stays safe. So you make sure you have the right number of PFDs, you make sure you have a throwable PFD, you make sure you have the right number of flares, you make sure you have good communication, you make sure you have a boat that you believe is capable of doing the journey that you're planning on doing. And then on top of that, you make sure you have a lot of water, you stay hydrated, and you put lots of sun cream on. And every minute you think about what you should do, you should put sun cream on and you should rehydrate.
Perfect. That was a whole bucket full of great tips there. Max, what you got for us?
My tip is, if you are a beginner boater, a really good place to go for anyone is Picnic Island, because you can get there by kayak, you can get there by boat, sailboat, and it's a great place to just go to an island like in the middle of the water and go hang out, and it's really easy to get to and really easy to find.
And very doable by sailboat and powerboat. You just got to know where you're going to go with your sailboat.
Don't go too fast.
It does mean there's this thing called the miserable mile that you've got to spend a bit of time in. Yep. But the other thing about Picnic Island, if you're in a powerboat, is that I've never been in that stretch, on that stretch along the miserable mile towards Picnic Island without seeing dolphin.
True.
Mm-hmm. Always going through
and it's like when I was saying I'd the Captiva cruises dolphin tour thing that I used to do. They would, like, every single time. And
they were trained by you.
I don't know if they were trained by me, but here's two quick dolphin stories. One is, dolphin apparently, one of their favorite foods is mullet. And in Pine Island Sound, there's a lot of mullet. You get mullet fishermen coming out of Pine Island all the time. But mullet are vegetarians. And so where all the mangrove islands are, all that algae that's growing on the mangrove roots, they love that. So all the mullet go into that stretch of water. It's completely surrounded by mangrove islands.
Right.
And so there's loads of mullet there. So there's loads of dolphin. And so they hang out.
Okay.
And so there's top tip number one about the dolphin. Well, there was going to be another.
There was another dolphin story.
There's another dolphin story.
It's Picnic Island we were talking about. It might be the shallow water around it. Just check the charts again.
And we do have a YouTube video about Picnic Island that you can check out that shows you aerial view and everything. And then I know before we started, you said you had a sea monster story. So I need to know what that was about.
Well, here, I've got two. Well, I've got a real quick one and then one that's a bit longer.
Okay.
So, I didn't know that alligators occasionally swam in salt water.
True.
They do.
We
see them on the Facebook. Yeah, the Facebook groups. People are always posting.
And
like,
we've actually
super
seen them.
surprised to see them
On Fort Myers Beach.
In the years I was working out at Captiva Island at South Seas Resort, I'd be down there and I'd be messing about, whatever. And it's not unusual for us to jump in the water to clean boats and do things. And one day, there's this massive alligator. It's got to be at least 8 feet long, just kind of swimming.
8 feet?
Well, yeah, that's right.
One-handed 8 feet.
No, there's a joke there, and I won't make it. So, too late. But anyway, so alligator swim. But here's my sea monster story. So for about 18 months, I had a Contest 32 sailboat. And we anchored it in Roosevelt Channel between
Captiva and
Bucky, which is next to Sanibel. So between Sanibel and Captiva. And I would leave it there on the anchor. And I think legally you're only supposed to leave it there for 10 days at a time before you move it. But we just keep it there and it'd be anchored there all the time. And then what we would do is occasionally we'd decide we're going to go kind of out for the day on the sailboat. So I would jump on one of the power boats that one of the guys from offshore had, the sailing school. They'd drop me off at the boat and I'd jump in the water to clean the bottom of the boat because there was all kinds of barnacles and stuff hadn't been grown on it. So where the prop was on this particular yacht, you had the keel and the prop came out and there was a thing called a skeg. So there was this kind of little window with the prop inside it. And over time, you'd have all kinds of
critters?
I was going to say mussels.
Barnacles?
Barnacles, thank you.
Yep.
Barnacles, forgotten what the name of a barnacle was. So barnacles growing on it. So when your prop was spinning, of course, nothing happened. So I would jump in the water and go down and I'd be scraping off these barnacles off my prop. So I'm now underwater, kind of holding my breath for about, 30 seconds, whatever I can do, and scraping these things off. And of course, there must have been a manatee nearby that was thinking, I wonder what all this debris is in the water. So I'm underwater looking through this thing with a prop going like that, and suddenly this face comes up right in my face. And I'm not sure whoever thought that manatees look like mermaids. They don't. They look scary as hell when they come up at you.
So I'm guessing you quickly got out of the water.
That's right. So anyway, I managed to hold my breath long enough to be here to tell the tale.
There we
Excellent.
go.
Dangerous manatees.
The kiss of death.
Right, which we didn't mention manatees either, but there's tons of manatees around. So.
And manatee areas where you have to be slow.
Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah.
Oh,
awesome.
I love it.
Are we ready for some trivia?
Yeah, I think we are. Come on, hit me.
All right, some competition. Here we
I
go.
hope it's not about sailing.
I hope it is about sailing.
Because we have an
We don't have any. We have some sailing adjacent questions.
I have another saying on any trip that I'm on. I'd say you can ask me any question on any topic at any time. If it's about sailing, I've got half a chance. Anything else, I'll make it up.
All right. Well, here we go. We have some sailing adjacent questions, so we'll see. We'll see how we do.
Alrighty.
All right, Kevin. You famously moved from England to New York City.
Famously.
Famously. What New York borough is Sanibel most close to in size, length, and width? Do we know the boroughs?
You should. You live there.
No, but
you don't know the boroughs.
I know where I lived, and I hope it's a borough.
New York. So she looked again. Did you say that? She looked again. She looked again, Max.
You looked again?
Even after last week.
Do I have to slow it down again?
Yeah, last week we had to slow it down because
my answer.
Yeah,
the boroughs of New York are the Bronx, Brooklyn, Manhattan, Queens, and Staten Island.
All right.
And Sanibel is very close in size to one of those.
Geographical size.
Geographical size.
Not population.
Manhattan.
Not by population.
Manhattan.
That is correct. It is 12 miles.
Manhattan.
12 miles long and 3 miles wide. Sanibel is very similar in area to Manhattan.
That's
how close? How many? What about the skyscraper to skyscraper ratio?
I don't think there's as many skyscrapers or people on Sanibel.
Do you know how many people are in Manhattan?
Like 12 million?
And
7 billion?
Right. Sanibel has what, 6 to 7,000?
6,000.
And hot dogs wise, we
Hold
have
on.
Snappers Hots, and they have how many hot dog carts?
Every single hot dog cart.
So there are
I have to find out the population of Manhattan.
All right, good.
1.6 million. I was
Can I ask
completely
you a
wrong.
trivia question?
Yes.
When I first moved here, I think I lived in a place called Sanibel Heights. So
Okay.
how high above sea level is Sanibel Heights?
I don't think it is above sea level. It's probably not.
Right.
Yeah, about 6 inches above sea level. All right, so 1.6 million. I said 12 million. That's so off.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
way off.
All right. This
Number 2.
famous resident, Thomas Edison, brought electric light to Fort Myers streets in what year? Closest wins. Fun trivia fact as you're guessing, the locals did not like the street lights because it kept the cows up all night.
So
Nowadays, we don't have that many cows in Fort Myers.
when did he bring it to this area?
The streets of Fort Myers.
The streets of Fort Myers.
Now, I don't think it's when he invented the light bulb, but when it was street lighting was brought to Fort Myers.
I know it.
And also, like, Thomas Edison debatably invented electricity and the light bulb. A lot of controversy there.
Could have been Tesla.
Could have been Tesla. He could be the biggest fraud in Fort Myers. We're not sure.
Right. But if you do come to the area, a great place to visit for
Is
a
the
day
Edison
trip
home.
from the island is the Edison home
Yep.
and the Ford.
Over 1,000 patents the man has.
Amazing. I'm sure you went there for
School field trips every time.
Okay, so you
All right,
must
does everyone
know
have
the
an answer?
I
I do. Well, I
do not
Googled the
know.
answer. That's why I wrote this trivia question.
All right, Nick,
right.
what'd you get?
I always feel like you put me up first when you don't know.
I don't
Just
know.
so that
She
you
does.
ridicule
All right.
me.
I put 1920.
1920.
I put 1938.
1912.
Wow, across the board.
Kevin wins. 1898 is the answer.
Wow.
According to the first website that gave me the answer to the question. So
So we had
Jeopardy,
to
here I
should
come.
take that with a grain of
What was it?
grain of salt.
Maybe we should be starting to say our sources because like he could
I should put my sources because they may be very sketchy.
What was it? 1898?
1898.
All right. Kevin's got 2 points.
Now this one may be, and this one is definitely an exaggeration. The first known tourist to Southwest Florida is this famous Spanish explorer.
Oh.
He died by injuries sustained from the Calusas shortly after arriving. He's very famous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know all about him, but I can't remember his name.
I can't either.
He's
Why can't-
Spanish.
Yeah,
we
I
know that, and St. Augustine and all that. But yeah,
He was also on a sailboat.
Yes.
That's
So,
how I
yeah.
know him. He was a mate of mine.
I find that hard to believe, unfortunately, Kevin.
The world is his name. All I keep thinking is Jose.
Should I give you a hint?
Gaspar. Yes.
Okay, he was searching for
No.
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 I can't say that.
Hang on. Why
You know
would
what?
you be giving hints if we
All
don't
right.
all need them?
Dad, what do you have?
I have Ponce de Leon.
Yes, that's it.
There it is.
Mom, what do you have?
That's it. Ponce de Leon.
Mom, what do you have?
There's nothing there. I'm telling you.
All right, Mom's.
Oh my gosh.
So Kevin leads 3-2.
And
Mom,
he wins.
no. We actually have one extra question this week.
We do.
I've watched
Yeah.
this podcast before. There's only three
Three.
questions.
Except when Laurie's losing. When there's a fourth.
I got real creative today. I almost wrote 5 questions, but we'll keep it to 4. Mom, you're in dead last with 1
I
point.
am
I'd like to remind you.
Terrible today.
We talked about this earlier. The Great Calusa Blueway, which is named after the Calusas that killed Ponce de
De
Leon.
Leon.
Paddling trail runs through the Gulf of Mexico's open water and down through the bays of Sanibel and Captiva. Approximately how many total miles is it?
But I already said what I thought was the answer, so that gives me an unfair advantage.
But
No,
how-
yeah,
you
disadvantage.
said if you said
Go
what
ahead.
you thought was the answer.
I said more than 2.
I should hope you did.
So if I go
That's
more than
what-
3, then I win.
That's right. Because that's what we paddle.
Yeah.
We
All
didn't
right.
find the start or the end.
So what did you put?
I'm going to say 500.
I put 350.
115.
Kevin wins, I think. Yeah. It's 190. 190. It's
Jeez.
more than 2.
It's more than two.
That means that might be the most the widest margin of victory in show history. Kevin with 4.
All right, there you go.
Ring the bell.
Oh,
wait, more canned applause. Hey.
Now leave.
All right, Dad, you want to close this off?
Yeah, get on your sailboat and
sling your hook.
Okay, guys. Thanks very much for joining us, Kevin.
Pleasure.
And very interesting. I'm sure we'll do this again.
I think we need an episode 2 because there's still so much
we haven't talked about boating. So make sure you subscribe. Go to the website, thesancapguide.com.
Send us any questions that you might have.
Make sure you check out salient.net. One thing Kevin didn't mention was that he is also a representative for Hylas Yachts.
I didn't mention that.
Check
I'm
out.
supposed to be doing that now.
Let me just give him a quick second. Give us how to get in contact with Hylas Yachts. Should you want one?
Should you want to buy a Hylas yacht? It's an ocean-capable performance sailing yacht.
First, you might want to get sailing certified.
No, don't worry about it. We'll work that out. But 239-738-8742 is my number for any reason if you want to give me a shout. And hylasyachts.com.
Spell Hylas for us, please.
Hylas yachts.
And they're absolutely gorgeous sailing boats.
And they are to die for yachts. And
what size from?
48 to 60.
48 to 60.
I'll take the 60, please.
Yeah.
And I'd love to sail you around in one. As long as you buy it, I'll sail you around in one.
Kevin was actually racing in one a little while back and had a very successful outcome. So they'll say no more. Check out Hylas Yachts. Check out salient.net. Check out Kevin and all he's got to offer. And thanks very much for joining us. Make sure you like and subscribe. Come and see us on the next one. And check out thesancapguide.com. Thanks very much. Have a great day. My name is Nick.
I'm Laurie.
And I was Kevin. Thank you.
I'm Max.
Have a good one, guys. Thank you.
Oh, my God.